सब श्रोतागणों को मेरा प्रणाम. You are welcome to the Vedic Varna Ashram Dharma Jaati and Caste, a critical Chintan, part 7 by Professor Shiv Chaturvedi ji. I hope you have been enjoying it, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it today too. So, Professor Shiv Chaturvedi ji, please take over and start.
Please allow me to share the screen.
Yeah, I think you should be able to share the screen.
Thank you, sir. Can you see it clearly?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namo Namaha. Om Shri Ganesaya Namo Namaha. Om Angirasaya Namo Namaha. Om Kaplaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Gargaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Vedavyasaya Namo Namaha. Om Dharmaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Gitaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Radha Krishnabhyam Namo Namaha. Om Samastramatri Shakti Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Yog Maya Shakti Devyai Namo Namaha. And I bow down to all the distinguished listeners, family and friends, और अंत में bow down to whole चराचर जगत, moving, unmoving cosmos, and all the entities within it. Thank you so much. And we will have a journey today to different worlds of ideas and how these ideas have shaped the civilizations and the cultures around the world. This journey is going to be full of newer ideas, newer terms, and eye-opening statements from various personalities, national leaders who have been iconic figures in Indian tradition, and how the interaction with the Western world evolved to the kind of situations we are in. Sometimes, and many times, this is used what we call colonial mentality or colonial mindset. We look at some of those ideas. The topic is very deep, very broad, very wide. It requires full 1-year course on each of these topics. But I'm going to give the salient, most foundational ideas in a very, very brief way. So please bear with me. I offer my apology to all of you. You are so distinguished, so wonderful, so beautiful to join in, that I have some bad habits they are defined bad habits within the contemporary narratives of the world. Number one, I will be using technical terminology based on the Sanskrit language and some equivalent words in English language. With the question mark, they may not be translatable into English language. So that's the one thing I apologize for. Second thing, I have a bad habits of not using sugar-coated language. I will try my best to use authentic language. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. Bruyat satyam apriyam tu. हो सकता है आप लोगों को अप्रिय लग सकती है, लेकिन वो सत्य भाषा हमारा, as a Bhakta today is my dharma in front of you to speak to the best of my knowledge and experience, my yogic experience that I've been doing and conducting for last 40 years, coming to America directly from IIT Kanpur. So bear with me. Thirdly, since the subject matter is too deep and too broad, it has many dimensions, I may not be able to communicate effectively enough with each and every one of you listeners, because each and every one of you have their own understanding coming from different background, different educational, professional backgrounds. So I offer my apology. With this note, let us see what my encounters, that's the preamble for this talk and many talks that I have given. First of all, let me give you one encounter. The number one is 1990s. There was a competition in Bharati Hindu Temple in Columbus, Ohio, of the high school students. Write an essay on Hindu religion, term religion. And I have been the educational coordinator for the temple since its inception in all dimensions. And so I was not involved in this evaluation of these essays submitted by the students, but one of the essays was brought to my attention by the committee of evaluators, and they were asking me how to respond to this essay written by a student. And that essay says that Swami Vivekananda, our revered national hero and representative of Hindu wisdom, says that all religions are same. Then why do I have to follow Hindu religion? I can switch over from one religion to another. And that was the theme in this essay. And the committee members did not know how to respond to this essay. Next one. Next, my personal encounter. These are few of them. I have several personal encounters on various topics for last more than 42 years in America, in different disciplines, sciences, humanities, arts, because I was the faculty also, Department of Comparative Studies and Humanities, and Biomedical Engineering as well. So this was the 1996 or 1995. There used to be a annual or biannual conference, international conference, Vedanta conference, arranged by Professor Pappura, who was professor of philosophy there. And in one session, which was a combined session, there were more than 200 participants, philosophers, religious leaders, scientists, engineers, medical professionals, all business professionals, very distinguished gathering. So there was a session when all sitting together, there was a 4 or 5 people in the panel discussion. And one of them was a Swami, who was the head of Ramakrishna Mission from East Coast. And he, in his deliberation, he kept talking about all religions are same, all religions are same, all religions are same. Several times he repeated this statement. I was the first one to raise my hands to ask question. And I asked the question that I heard from podium, all religions are same, all religions are same. And my name is Shiv Chaturvedi, and you can consider me an idiot, yet I'm professor at Ohio State University. If I use this term without defining what do I mean by all religions are same, I will be thrown out of window by my own students sitting in my class. Please explain to me, I am uneducated idiot, please explain to me what do you mean by all religions are same. The panel people started looking at each other, who said what, and finally the Swami got up. He was very angry. His face was very reddish, became really, and he started, mumbling. He started, talking about, I do not mean this, I do not mean this, I do not mean this. So actually he went around in circles without really defining what does he mean. Well, anyway, then another, in the meantime, another professor of philosophy, he stood up, he said, I am also an idiot, and I want to follow up on this question. So the meeting was then finally dissolved out in a chaos. So this is another encounter I had. Third encounter with Professor Karl Potter. He has been a distinguished professor, a philosopher of Indian wisdom tradition. He has been also chief editor of Encyclopedia of Hinduism, and he published a book, Presuppositions of Indian Philosophy, in 1964, in which he had made categorical statement about the Indians, people of Indian origin, philosophers and thinkers and writers of Indian origin. Most of them write about the Indian philosophy to please Westerners, to please others, and not being authentic to their own tradition. This was the gist of his categorical statement in that book. I wrote to him in 1994. He was joining the International Vedanta Conference in Oxford, Ohio. And I said, well, I would like to meet with you. I wrote an email. What is your opinion now? 64 versus 94 after 30 years. What is your opinion now? And he told me his opinion has not changed. So let's, with this introduction, the real encounter, let's move on, my dear friends, forward. So Vedic Sanatana Dharma has been degenerated and degraded primarily on two different levels. The first level, Vedic Sanatana Dharma was defined as a religion. That's the first degeneration. Second degeneration happened, second level, that all religions are same. And I am going to go through answering these basic questions. Why and how did this happen? And what are the primary consequences, not only to the Hindu civilization, but also to humanity? Let's start with the statement, and these statements are authentic statements taken from different authentic sources. So I'm not making them up. I just want to make upfront clear to all of you, sir and madam. Swami Vivekananda, I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance, universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal tolerance, but we accept all religions as true. As different streams having different sources all mingle their waters in the sea, so different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear crooked or straight, all lead to God. All religions are true. And we will see that Abrahamic religions say this universe is only, the existence only 10,000 years old. And Hindu wisdom say is billions and billions of years old, comparable to the current cosmological idea of the origin or the age of the universe. Swami Vivekananda, the Quran or Jain Avesta, which is the Zoroastrians scripture, or the Bible is as much sacred book as the Bhagavad Gita. Ahur Mazda, Ishwara, Allah, Jehovah are different names for one God. Let's look at Swami Tyaganandaji of Ramakrishna Vedanta Society, Boston. At the front of this worship space sits image of various Hindu deities, and around the room having symbols of world religions, a star, a crescent for Islam, a Dharma wheel for Buddhism, a cross for Christianity, a star of David for Judaism. And Swami says that all religions are one. Professor Houston Smith, very distinguished authority on religions, he also says all religions are one. Like Gandhi and Dalai Lama affirmed that the essential message of all religions is the very much same. And here is the statement by a modern contemporary thinkers professor, very distinguished, very popular, and has written a very wonderful book, though I do not agree completely with it, but anyway. And he says they are not describing the world, but reimagining it. They are hoping that their hope will call in us feelings of brotherhood and sisterhood. In the face of religious bigotry and bloodshed, past and present, we cannot help but be drawn to such vision and such hope. So there is a hope, but these statements are really not true at all. Fundamentally wrong, misleading, and damaging. Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, in a conversation at the time he was vice president for India, and he was considered at the time as one of the greatest living thinkers. He was professor of philosophy at Oxford University. Radhakrishnan says, Radhakrishnan was culturally totally Western. He considered himself more related to values of Judeo-Christian heritage than to those of the Buddhist. He was eloquent in his defense of Western tradition and impatient with India's obsolete commitment to unhistorical knowledge and values. He felt that Vedanta, Rigveda, and Upanishad led to repudiation of reality in its evolutionary achievement. Humanity, he said, must pursue Western ideas which incarnate spirit into matter. These are references by biography of an idea by Dr. Ruth Nanda Anson. She died a few years ago. Very distinguished philosopher, thinker of a culture, and very distinguished record. And many world leaders, many presidents of the Ivy League institutions in America and Europe, they were her good friends, and she had interviewed all of them, and this is one of the interviews by Dr. Radhakrishnan. And again, continue. We spoke about the transcendental unity of religions of the world. Radhakrishnan said, there is only one God, identical for Jews, the Christian, the Buddhist, the Muslim. There is even God for heathen. God is one, human nature is one, salvation is one. My comments on all these ideas. These ideas reflect a sense of multidimensional ignorance, willful or otherwise, and they are demeaning, seriously flawed, tragic, and absurd. A deep impact of colonial mindset. This is the recent book, very popular. The Professor Stephen Prothero became the world celebrity in the world of religion when this book was published. Instant bestseller in 2010. God is not one. And he writes, this is his quotation on page 3. One purpose of all religions or one mantra is to stop this fight and killing. But this sentiment, however well-intentioned, is neither accurate nor ethically responsible. God is not one. My opinion, the above broad statements are blatantly false, with the false hope of establishing unity and peace. They indicate high degree of ignorance, ominous consequences in the domain of human experience. They include social, ethical, moral, political, and scientific. The Vedic worldview has been profoundly degraded to the levels of religions. It has serious damaging consequences in the Hindu civilizations. And I'm one of those who takes up this challenge. Let's look at how the religion has been defined based on Abrahamic tradition. When I say Abrahamic tradition, Judaism, then followed by Christianity, and followed by Islam. This is the chronological look at how the distinguished thinkers from different disciplines have defined the religion. Animism and magic are the forces which govern the world. Conscious and personal and unconscious impersonal religion as a constellation of superhuman power assume the former is then a fundamental antagonism to magic as well as to science. Golden Walk, the V.G. Taylor and Fraser, very distinguished. Clifford Geertz, the doyen and the father of Western interpretation of the cultures and the society. Cultural analysis is not an experimental science in search of law, but interpretative one in search of meaning. Phenomenological description by concise Oxford Dictionary. Human recognition of superhuman controlling power, especially of personal god or gods, entitled to obedience and worship. William James, he's the father of Western American psychology. He was professor at Oxford. The feelings, acts, and experience of individual men and their attitude so far as they apprehend themselves to stand in relation to whatever they may consider the divine. Sigmund Freud, one of the founding fathers of Western psychology, including Carl Jung. They were together, they became enemy of each other in later part of life, went different ways. Religion would thus be the universe obsessional neurosis of humanity. This is a mental disease written by Sigmund Freud. T. Parsons, another sociologist. Sociological, a set of beliefs, practice, institutions which men have evolved in various societies. Emily Durkheim. Society has accepted the idea of society is the soul of religion. This is the sociological concept, psychological concept of religions. Look at the Karl Marx, which is the motto of all the communistic and ultra-socialistic ideals ideologies of the world, starting with Karl Marx. It is the opium of the people. And this is what has been repeated by Communist Party of India or many communist other organizations in India. And if you look at their real deeds, they're highly unethical, highly dharmic, because they follow that religion. Hindu Dharma is a religion. It is the opium of the people by Karl Marx, who himself was personal life was unethical. Personal life was full of contradictions, confusion, conflicts. Naturalistic, a body of scruples with impede free exercise of faculty. Matthew Arnold, ethics heightened and kindle lit up feeling. Religion is the recognition of all things are manifestation of power which transcend our knowledge. Herbert Spencer, who was the follower of very strong, staunch follower of Darwinian revolution or evolution. Justice V.M. Tarkunde, very prominent justice in India. Moral behavior rudimentary type is found in the higher animals and can be traced even to lower forms of life. This fact is enough to establish that the source of morality is biological, not theological. Religion cannot be the source of morality, but because the process of moral development is started before the emergence of religion. Do we know what he's talking about? This statement is full of contradictions and confusion and so let me ask you, after going through these panoramic view on the religions, not on Dharma, on the religions, now let me ask the question to this audience respectfully. What is the religion of coronavirus? What is the dharma of coronavirus? These are the two questions, A and B. Please think about for a few seconds. What is the religion of coronavirus? What is the dharma of coronavirus?
Very good.
Let me answer the question from the previous slide. The first question, what is the religion of coronavirus? This question is meaningless and absurd. Cannot be answered. It is a meaningless and absurd. It does not require any answer. B, coronavirus has its own dharma called swadharma, which is its biochemical structure and properties.
Absolutely right.
That is the swadharma. But this swadharma is actually a dharma because it kills its host. More precisely, its adharma is adibhautik adharma. Any living entity, non-living entity, has its own internal dharma as well as external dharma, as well as adharma and adharma of. So dharma and adharma, I call them kshetra. Simply using the term dharma will lead you to misleading conclusion. So this is adibhautik. This is simply a protein, very primitive protein, but it has its own dharma, no religion, its own properties, biochemical structure and properties. My dear friends, dharma of the gross and subtle layers of the body. Human body or any body, does it have a dharma or any religion? No. Only dharmas. What are the dharmas? This is the only one set of dharmas. The Vedic wisdom tradition has defined I have identified and I'm defining additional dharmas, more than 20. I have presented some of this talk in other sessions. You can look it up in my videos or the YouTubes. But here, let me give you, what is the body of dharma? Dharma of the body is born, body grows, develops, reaches its limiting configuration, body stays, remains youthful, body gets old and disease, body decays, and body meets on death. Death of the body, Sharira. After death, Atman, enveloped by a causal body, with its karmic residue, leaves the dead body behind. It continues journey in the unknown. Every human personality uniquely individual, although originating from the same field of Prakriti. Even twins are individual. They are not identical. This is the wisdom of Vedic Sanatana Dharma. And we will further look into it. Even this terminology, Sanatana Dharma, had a lot of misleading, misunderstanding, and absurd interpretations and narratives. So what happened? How the religions were created? Creation of so-called religion. This is by Professor Friedrichsthal, one of the very iconic figure I consider in the Western tradition, born in Western tradition, who has done so much, bringing out this wisdom to the rest of the world, the Hindu wisdom. Agni, 1964, I think, or 74, I don't remember exactly, the first large Agnihotra Yagna was performed. He was the only one allowed in the arena of the Yagna, where Vedi was constructed by Nambudi Brahman from Kerala. He has written the big in audio and video, actually is available. Agni, that's the name of the book, Agni. And he writes, the inapplicability of Western notions of religion in the tradition of Asia has not only led to piecemeal errors of labeling, identification, and classification, to the conceptual confusion and to some name calling. It is also responsible for something most extraordinary, the creation of so-called religions. This is how we will go and talk about how some of the Western intellectuals with their vested interest and hidden prejudices, and some of the colonial minds, converted colonial minds from Indian tradition, colluded together to provide this framework that the Hindu wisdom should be thrown into a small pot. This samudra, this ocean should be thrown into a small pot of religion. Hindu and Hinduism, I'm not going to define where the Hindu coming from. Code of Gentoo laws was gradually supplanted in 19th century by reference to the religion of Hindus. This was 1776 by Nathaniel Brassey Halhed. He published a book called Code of Gentoo Laws. Hinduism with DOOISM, Oxford English Dictionary, entered in 1829, reference to a Bengali magazine, volume 45, and also then used later by Max Muller with Hinduism, not double O, but HINDUISM. Dermont Killingly, according to him, a reference to Ram Mohan Roy in 1816. Mr. Roy was probably the first Hindu to use the word Hinduism. Richard King writes, Professor Richard King writes, one hardly need mention the extent to which Roy's conception of Hindu religion was conditioned by European, Muslim, and Unitarian theological references. Ironically, there is a considerable reason, therefore, for frequency with which Western scholars have described Roy as the father of modern India. So this is the, if you did not know about, the two fathers have been intellectual world and political worlds have been recognized. The first one is Ram Mohan Roy and other one is Mahatma Gandhi. You decide if they are really father of India or not, depending upon their deeds and the ideas. I'm not going to dwell upon them at this lecture. So Dr. Richard King, read this book, Orientalism and Religion, Post-Colonial Theory, India and Mystic East. In Asian context, Western influenced Neo-Vedanta. That the term came out to be Neo-Vedanta in the intellectual world and the religious world and the world of philosophy or intellectual thinker, such as Ram Mohan Roy, Mahatma Gandhi, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, Radhakrishnan. They have played seminal role in construction of contemporary notions of Hinduism as a universal religion. This influence is so prevalent that today that most religion education courses mean Hinduism is a colonial filter and retrospective Vedanticization of Indian religion. Salvation of Europe depends on a rationalistic religion. And Advaita, the non-duality, the oneness idea of the impersonal God is the only religion that can have hold on any intellectual people. If you look at this, is the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. This is the reference from Swami Vivekananda. I am very deeply respect these stalwarts of Indian wisdom, but they have been conditioned deeply by the Abrahamic models of thinking and religions. And as a result, corruption, pollution, uprooting has taken place of Hindu wisdom tradition. This statement, oneness, impersonal God, is the motto and the most foundational doctrine of many organizations, just like Ramakrishna Mission. They said, we are not Hindus. Definitely they are not Hindus. How they can be Hindus? Based on this statement, can the concept, the foundational idea of Hindu mandir, idea of God, an entire world of Bhakti Yoga collapses? The entire tradition collapses. If this limited definition, if this limited idea in its own limited domain in the religion, if continues. Professor Wilhelm Helfach, oh my goodness, he has written a very outstanding book, India and Europe, the Asian Understanding. We cannot reduce the meaning of Dharma to one general principle, nor is there one single translation that would cover all its usages. Nevertheless, there is a coherence in this variety. It reflects the elusive yet undeniable coherence of Hinduism itself in peculiar unity and diversity. So this concept of Dharma is fundamentally different from religion, has also been recognized by Western thinkers and writers who have not been prejudiced by the colonial mindset. To accept modern Western epistemological theories without highlighting their cultural and social particularity, long and best-loved tradition of Western arrogance about the superiority of Western ways of understanding the world. Richard King has said very well, that's what happened. If I walk down to the aisles of religion and philosophy and any other discipline, and they will ask me, what are you doing? You are a applied scientist. What are you doing in the department of religion? If a person of the religious background, department of religion, professor of religion or philosophy, walk down the aisles of hard sciences, physics, chemistry, engineering, applied sciences, hard sciences, if they walk down through the aisles of these disciplines, they will be questioned, what you doing here? You do not belong here. So once we have thrown out the entire dharmic tradition, I will later define as the entire Sanatana Dharma, Yoga Dharma, Vriksha, Aswat Vriksha, concept of Vriksha. If you throw down this whole wisdom as a new Vedanta into the department of religion, all other human experiences are wiped out. They are ignored, they are ridiculed, just like some of the Advaita Vedantis have ignored, ridiculed other darshanas, other six darshanas, including Vaiseshik darshana, including material science, including all the sciences developed by Vedic people, by Hindus for thousands of years, which is now being recaptured and rekindled by many people from within India and also from the rest of the world. And I have critical encounters with many of such distinguished individuals. So this is the mental slavery. Look at what the Charvak said. Charvak philosophy. Still we are teaching Charvak philosophy somewhere, some places, which has been ridiculed and which has no place, which has no relevance, which is really the gist of what we call the materialistic philosophy. And look at what the Rig Veda. When the Charvak said the Vedas are written by idiots and bhrashta people and idiots, this does not contain any knowledge. Look at what the contemporary world is talking about. This is the Patrick Heelan, who was a quantum logician. He died, he was New York University. He died just a few years ago, professor of philosophy. He was the authority on quantum logic. And Alfred North Whitehead is the philosopher of the last great disciple of Platonic philosophy. Whitehead said all Western philosophy is nothing more than footnote to Plato. And Patrick Heelan says that Antonio Dick Nicholas, great philosopher of Vedic wisdom from New York University, he has written a book on Vedas. He says, if you believe in that the Western philosophy is nothing more than a footnote to Plato, then you must believe that Plato and the West are themselves extended footnotes to Rig Veda. This is the authority of the Rig Veda, the original Shruti of the Vedic civilized people, Hindu people. A lot of work is going on quantum logic, quantum physics. Western thinkers, Western scientists were boggled when discovery of quantum phenomena and duality of light, wave or particle. They did not have a language. Still understanding, we can do all kinds of solutions based on quantum physics, but still understanding of the language and concept behind the quantum phenomena is still mysterious. And this mystery goes all the way to Rig Veda. I do not have time today to address that issue. Someday I will do that. So Western paradigms. This is the representation of Western paradigms. One field, one set is a field of religion, ethics, morals. Many entails ideas of gods, Godhead, salvation, may not entail. Then field of arts, aesthetics, sociology, anthropology, psychology, political science, secular humanist, ethics and morals. Then field of rationality, philosophy, religion, field of all sciences. So soft sciences, hard sciences, what's it, humanities, arts, oh my goodness, and field of religion. And my dear friends, the field of religion does not intersect with other two sets. Field of religions are contradictory, antithetical to the field of sciences. Attempts to make a bridge between field of science and religions have been going on for the last 2000 years. Some say marriage between them. There are some say opposite, two opposite surfaces of coin. God created the natural world to subjugate, subdue, and conquer. And that conquering the natural world, that thesis has failed. And coronavirus is one of the recent examples that conquering the world, that paradigm has failed. My dear friend, newer paradigms are coming up, which really are so close and so similar to the paradigms within from the Vedic tradition. Conclusion, I fully incur this conclusion by a very distinguished Elaine Howard Eklund, that the long-standing antagonism between science and religion is irreconcilable, and the divide seems unbridgeable as ever. And as a result, persecution, punishment, science books burning the Western historical landscapes are very well known and documented. Long history of brutal, violent conflicts, wars, crusades among three religions due to theological, political ideologies are well known and documented. One of the classifications, this is not the only classification, this is one of the classifications within the context Sanatana Yoga Dharma Kshetra, concept of field. Simply you say Sanatana Dharma, it will not convey the total meaning in the modern contemporary context. There are three broader fields: Adhyatmik Yoga Dharma Kshetra, Adidevik Yoga Dharma Kshetra, and Adibhautik Yoga Dharma Kshetra. They cover entire existence, material as well as non-material. All existence is covered under this umbrella of Sanatana Yoga Dharma Kshetra. So what is the greatest tragedy? When religions are equated to the Sanatana Dharma, consequences are deep darkness of ignorance, mental slavery, ignoring, marking the entire field of Hindu wisdom tradition. I grew up in India in a small village, and I call myself bucolic, Gamar Dehati, all the way up to PhD level. I was not taught and told about the wonder and beauty of the Hindu wisdom traditions. I was not. I was taken away from learning Sanskrit language after high school. And look at what the consequences are. We'll talk about later on, and probably in next lecture I have to arrange. Dharma Nirvek, secularism, pseudo-secularism emerged due to the above equation. This is the ignorance and mental slavery. Secularism, socialism, dharma totally undefined, grafted on the Indian nation and her people. The dharma was denigrated, polluted, uprooted by defining as a religion. National level, what should be called? We should not call Sanatana, we should be called Rashtra Dharma Kshetra, which is a subset of, a branch of Sanatana Dharma Kshetra. Next layer, Raj Dharma Kshetra. Next layer, Rajniti Kshetra. Not the Adidevik Dharma Kshetra. It's a faulty usage of term dharma in private, public, or in media. Rajniti, my dear friends, I want to tell you about, and you can, you hear these words all the time. Niti, niti, niti. And I would tell you, the niti word does not have equivalent one word either in French language, Greek language, Latin language, and English language. They do not have, and they must be ashamed of it. This is written by a professor from Berkeley in 1925, when he translated what he called the Panchatantra stories. More than 2,000 year stories went around the world through Arabia, to Persia, which was part of India, Brahat Bharat. It went to rest of the world when the rest of the world was in deep slumber. The stories became the stories of the rest of the world. So, and as soon as we coined the term dharma to the politics called the Rajniti, Rashniti, Ras Dharma, Nyaya, Ras Nyaya Dharma. Then separation of wall. As soon as you define religion, dharma becomes religion, then definitely separation of wall between politics and religion will come into play. That's the reason when this country, America, was founded, the separation of wall was essential to enact. In Vedic Hindu Dharma Kshetra, we will not call the religion. This is the Ras Dharma Kshetra, Rasnit Kshetra, Rajnit Kshetra are the foundation. No deity, no devata is encountered, remains hidden object in this identification. So the question of separation becomes meaningless. And the Indian leaders, including all the way up to the Prime Minister, look at the speeches and writings of the Indian leaders and Hindu leaders in India. Most of them do not know the word aniti, which is a niti and aniti. When you hear the words, the corruption, pollution in the politics, still they use the same term. When you use asatyam, when the opposition parties and many other parties, many other leaders from all spectrums, they project the national consensus based on the lies and fabrications and fake news. Still people say, you are doing politics, you are doing Rajniti. No, you must say, this is the Rajaniti, the field of Rajaniti, not Niti. It's the field of adharma, not dharma. It is the field of dhanavritti, not manavritti. This is the language we have to use. I'm sorry. I apologize, my dear friends. I will leave this here. We'll come back to this later on. Pseudo-secularism, fundamentally wrong. What the secularism, pseudo-secularism? Secularism is really, we no word equivalent, one word in our Hindu wisdom tradition, and I call asat dharma, adharma, asat adharma. That's the secularism. It is very fitting in context of religions. It is totally out of place, meaningless, fundamentally wrong. So then we started using pseudo-secularism, accepting the secularism, and then use pseudo-secularism. This is our status of mental makeup, my dear friends. My humble request, please start using proper linguistic terminology as the first step to counter the propaganda of anti-national, anti-Hindu forces. Use Hindu wisdom categories and classification. Use appropriate narratives reflecting aspects of Hindu wisdom. Share this with your family and friends, social and educational media. Rise up and move into Karma Yoga to actively contribute and participate in bringing out the positive renaissance of Hindu wisdom tradition. This is my humble request with all of you. You do not have to listen to this idiot guy. Listen to your own concepts, read your own worldview, read your own wisdom traditions. Judaism, Christianity, Islam are not the same. There are some similarities in limited domains, for example, 10 Commandments, but fundamentally differences on major issues. Mutual conflicts, bloody, brutal wars on religious issues throughout their history. The history of the world is only 10,000 years old. Christianity, Islam are mandated by their religions to convert others by any means through bloody wars. Their worldviews are fundamentally different than the Sanatana Dharma view. They are contradictory, antithetical. They are one-dimensional and they are blind faith oriented. So where do I put within the Vedic wisdom tradition, where do I place them? The Abrahamic religion. And I have this here. Gyan Dharma Kshetra, Agyan Dharma Kshetra. Another categorization. Bold, overarching, universal categorization. Gyan Dharma Kshetra, Agyan Dharma Kshetra. Both the Dharma Kshetra bond together, stay together in different degree and kind, they overlap throughout the yugas, throughout changing times. This is the Hindu wisdom. Talks about all ifs and buts. Jnana Dharma Kshetra, Ajnana Dharma Kshetra. And overlapping interaction. That means the overlap or the intersection of both the sects. Abrahamic religions fall into this intersection. Ajnana Dharma Kshetra and intersection of Jnana Dharma Kshetra. That's where they fall into. That's the placement I am proposing. And how do I? This is the Vriksha, Aswat Vriksha. The concept of Vriksha is so fundamental. I don't have to, each and every word that I'm using, each and every image I'm using, I had to give at least, 1 week lecture on each of those images and ideas. So I'm giving you sort of, it may sound disjointed information and wisdom and understanding. So I beg your pardon. The only beautiful, a universal image representation can be done through concept of Vriksha. And Vriksha concept is so prevalent in modern neurosciences, in modern physics, in modern computer science and analytical. In every field, the concept of Vriksha is coming into the place, which really is found all the way into the Rig Veda. These are the universal and eternal ideas, my dear friends. They have been thrown into the closed, small box of religions. So let me, do I have some time, our Dr. Kaulji?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So please let me go ahead, because I have probably I have got more than 100 slides, but I will probably have to take another opportunity later on, some other time to continue on this. But I want to introduce what you call the concept of what you call the God, because God is not one. Let me give you the concept of God in Abraham tradition and the process of creation. So let me run through a few slides just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I will open the floor for your questions, comments, suggestions, your guidance, your education. That's the creation story. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, also a snake and apple tree. This image is a foundational image of the Abrahamic tradition. Okay, so keep that in mind, this image. And there are 4 important elements. There is a garden, Adam and Eve, male and female, and a snake and the apple tree. There are a lot of trees, but there's the apple tree especially. And look at the genesis of creation. Heaven and earth, center and circumference were made in the same instance of time, and clouds full of water. Man was created by Trinity on October 26, 4004 BC at 9 o'clock in the morning. By a prominent priest in 1654, this is what he made calculation, that the humans, the man was created 4400 BC at 9 o'clock. And the Lord, how the man was formed, and the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostril the breath of life. Man became a living soul. And Lord God planted the garden eastward in the Eden, and there he put the man with whom he formed. And Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree garden you may have freely eat. Note, soul is the breath of life. Soul is not the Atman. I'm going to discuss these later on. But the tree of knowledge, good and evil, you shall not eat of it. If you eat, you will surely die. This is the commandments of the God from the Bible. And what then, how the woman was formed? So then, and the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, closed up the flesh instead of thereof. So, and the rib which God Lord had taken from man made he woman, and brought her unto the man. So she was taken out of man, of his rib. That's why he's called the woman. So now you know the origin of the term woman, made from the rib of the man. And woman does not have a soul. None of the living entities have soul. Because soul, this is the fundamentally fake and false concept. Even if you consider the soul to be breathing, all the living world has breathing. How they can survive without breathing or living force? In Vedic worldview, Brahma himself got split into 2 parts, right part male, left part female, the source of idea of Ardhanarishwar. Each one of us are Ardhanarishwar. Half male, half female, go to chromosome. Modern Bible tell the same thing. Each one of us made of half female, half male. Now look at the, I'm going to skip some of these. Okay, that's the image. Abrahamic traditions talk about God as a what you call watchmaker. Very powerful image, watchmaker. And this concept of watchmaker is a watchmaker is a creator, and this creator is creating creation, which is a watch. Total and permanent separation between watchmaker and its creation. This idea is called deism. And most of the founding fathers of American Republic were deists. But then, if you look at the Judeo-Christian tradition, Abrahamic tradition, they included what we call the personal relation through faith alone. Remember, wisdom tree, the tree, that fruit where wisdom is there, cannot be eaten by human being, otherwise you will die. Only blind faith, only blind faith. So this is the concept of God, where the creator and creation are fundamentally separated, and the creator cannot be seen by anyone. None of the people have seen the creator, cannot experience the creator. Simply listen what creator has to say by one prophet, one messiah, or one messenger. So this is, I'm not going to go this here, we'll sometime work about it. Now look at, this is a wonderful phenomena here, how the Saint Augustine is the first most prominent Christian theologian, 354 CE. He struggled. If you look at his personal confessions, look at the book by autobiography of Saint Augustine called Confessions. His trial and tribulations, his turmoil, his anxiety, his depression, his a field of desire, and he was struggling with the Greek philosophical tradition and the Bible tradition. He did not know what to do with, because they were fundamentally contradictory. So he superimposed some of the ideas, including the soul concept, but grafted onto the Bible. And that soul of Greek soul is really not the Atman. It comes from the field of Prakriti. I will talk about later on. So what the pagans, the Greco-Roman world, a very, very distinguished pagan thinker says, we see the same star, sky is shared by all, the same world surrounds us. What does it matter what wisdom a person uses to seek for truth? This is statement of pagan. Look at the statement of St. Augustine, that all superstition of pagans and heathens should be annihilated, is what God wants, what God commands, what God proclaims. This is the fundamental axiom of the Christianity, and this is what has used by Christianity in a similar tradition in Islam, similar statement in Islam, which have proved to be fatal for the whole civilizations of the world. And as a result, the pagan civilization or Greco-Roman civilization disappeared, in fact annihilated by the Christian God. That's what God commands. Look at I was watching this movie, Kesari, 2018. British commander rebuking an Indian soldier. If you have not watched, I think this is from Kesari. He was rebuking an Indian soldier. You Indians are born to remain slave. It was always struck to me. It was shocking to me. It was so much humiliating to me watching and hearing these words. And this is not the movie dialogue. These are the dialogues you can find in the colonial era. This is the dialogue you will find in the discourses of the communism and ultra-socialism in the name that be Indian. And this is what is happening. Most of the intellectual world that I've encountered in various disciplines from A to Z got trapped and encased in their tradition for last more than 200 years. You may not like it. The initial few centuries of birth of Christianity out of Judaic tradition had also mutually bloody conflicts with prevalent Greco-Roman pagan polytheistic religions of the world, and as a region, annihilation of Greco-Roman world. All common theological ideas, monotheism, one God which cannot be visible, but will speak only to his designated Messiah, prophet, or messenger. Judaism, angry God. Islam, the Christianity is a loving God. Islam is only to God. All other gods are false gods. When you use the term God of Jews is different from God of Christianity and God of Islam, being different in and the only true God is the God of Islam, and true Messiah, true messenger is the Prophet Muhammad only, true wisdom in only the Quran. All other traditions of the world are false. All gods and goddesses, all ideas are false. And when you use the word idol worship, that's what they use. Idols means false gods and goddesses. And we use in our temples, we use in our conversation, we use our intellectual discourses and writings, email, input. You see, all technical terms use the idols. Idol, when you use the term idol, you are accepting that we are using the term false gods. Prohibition emerged. God spoke all these words. You shall not have any other gods besides me. Hebrew Bible. For I am a jealous God. Who is God? All powerful, invisible forever. All knowing, all good. Who creator created everything good. But what about evil? Another creator is a Satan, more powerful than God. So Satan is more powerful than God. So this is how a Satan cult emerged. So we are called the satanic people, the Hindus, and rest of the world, beside those who do not follow Abrahamic tradition, they are Satans. हम बच्चों कहते हैं ना घर में बड़ी शैतानी कर रहे, शैतान टर्म वहीं से आता है. God speaks to one prophet only. No one has capacity to see him directly. Universe is just 10,000 years old, created out of nothing. End time predicted many times, but did not happen. Only one life to live. And then prophet will come back on earth to decide who goes to heaven with him or who goes to eternal hell. That's why we have that's why we bury, these people bury their dead bodies. Because one day God will come, or Messiah will come, whosoever comes, they will wrap up the flesh, they will open up the graves, wrap up the flesh around them, and then they will send them either the last judgment, they will send them either the hell or heaven. No law of karma, no rebirth, no associated idea. World process, time, existence are all linear. Two categories. Others will go to eternal hell if not converted by any means. Only Jewish traditions have no conversion. God created human beings, natural world, cosmic, are always outside of creation. God is not within his own creation. Human world fundamentally separated from creator. So what happens? The natural world has to be subjugated, controlled, and exploited. There's a permanent separation, permanent separation, permanent separation. God is not one. God is not one. My opinion, the above bold statements are blatantly false and false for establishing unity of peace. I will not go into it. I will go directly to, let's look at this is the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. Purushottam Prakriti, apparent differentiation, separation, followed by yogic union of Purusha, Prakriti, and Purushottam. That is perfect union. These are the two images. Sishti Yog Dharma, Sthiti Yog Dharma. Spider with his own web. Jivatman, Paramatman, always together on the same tree. So these are the two powerful images. Emanation takes place, not the creation in the sense of the Abrahamic tradition. Emanation, one became ekoham bahushyama. One became many and diversified. One is within the world is within that one, and one is still transcendental to his own existence. Human body and cosmos an epitome of universe. Individual is an epitome of universe. Whatever is within the human body is found in cosmos. Whatever is within cosmos is also found human body. This is the equation. And that equation actually is the foundation of the man-machine interface of modern computer sciences. And this is the most powerful statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. Atmanne vatmanatmanam sraje hamnyunu palay atmayanubhavene bhutendri guratmana. This is the most unique and wonderful ultimate statement of Vedic wisdom tradition, or this is the ultimate statement of the Vedanta. By myself, I create, sustain, and withdraw myself within myself by the power of my Yoga Maya, which comprises the material element, the senses, and modes of Prakriti. It's a multidimensional material. One became many in all, manifest and unmanifest. There is no fundamental separation. Compare this statement with any other statement found in any other tradition. Isliye, that's why I will suggest you not to use the word Lord or God. Use the word Paramatma, Purushottam, Parameshwar, Parabrahm. These are the words should be used, not the God. It has a different meaning. When you hear the word God, it has a different meaning to different traditions, my dear. So I will not go here. Some of them have a lot of questions, but I will go back and will follow these later on. The concept of Brahman, which has also been misunderstood and miscalculated and misrepresented many times the world. So with this, I have only used the concept of the limited way, the concept of God. Next time I will going to elaborate upon and use also the very authentic Quranic. I already have that Quranic tradition here. What they have, what their concept of, there are 5 layers of concept of jihad, fatwa. We will talk about probably later on, and their prayers. But in the meantime, since the time is running out, I will simply recite this. Where did I put here? Yes, concluding remarks. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Si Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matirma. Can we aspire to become Arjun, the Pandava? Are we ready for renaissance? And with my folded hand, आपके चरणों में बार बार नमन करता हुआ आपसे प्रार्थना करता हूं, rise up, get rid of mental slavery, re-engage in karma yoga for establishing the yoga dharmic humanity. Even the Western world is under foundational, is cracking. Big new foundational education system based on foundational principles, but with this sort of innovation continuity. Whole educational system have to be overhauled fundamentally. All the sciences, humanities, arts have common background, common foundation in the Hindu wisdom tradition. And those foundational principles have to be brought out and taught and told to rest of the world, because we are the only one to claim and proclaim Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And in the last, requesting your forgiveness and for your blessing, please, I am Banjara. बस्ती बस्ती पर्वत पर्वत गाता जाए बंजारा। मैं पागल, मेरा मनुआ पागल, पागल मेरे गीत रे। आई बेग योर पार्डन, आई बेग योर पार्डन, आई बेग योर पार्डन। सत्य में विजयते, यही मेरा नारा है। ओम शांति शांति शांति। थैंक यू सो मच my dear friends, my dear devotees. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shiv Chandra. Very excellent and a brilliant talk, actually.
Thank you.
It is interesting that about 9 years ago, I wrote an article on dharma, and you effectively stated almost everything I had written there. Thank you very much. Excellent talk. And any questions, please? I think if can see the photographs and raised hands, it will be much easier for me to ask people to ask the questions. And until then, if I cannot see the pictures of the people with raised hands, etc., if you can write the question here, maybe that can work. We don't have a lot of time left, but still, I think we can probably allocate about 10 minutes to the questions, and depending on our main host, I am ready to actually continue for some more time, depending on the interest of the people. So if there are any questions, please ask the questions, or Rajivji, if you could show me the pictures of all the people here with raised hands, then it will be very helpful. And since I can't see it, though, can you write the question? Anybody is interested in asking any questions, please? Since until someone shows up and raises the question, maybe I should ask a question. You are very meticulous in actually bringing up this all these categories and distinguishing them different between religion, dharma, etc., other categories. However, towards the end, you used the God as a generic term. Whereas the corresponding notions are, as you pointed out yourself, what the God notion of God is in the case of the religions. Therefore and our tradition does not use God per se. In fact, even the Ishvara appears at a level as one of the evolutes of the original reality. Starting from both Nasadya Sukta or Advaita or Abheda Shaiva tradition, etc., etc. So it may be useful if you can sort of elaborate on that, these differences.
Great question. Great question. Whenever the term Ishvara is used, later on when we discuss, probably I will request you and Rajiv ji to have another session on, the continuing on this one. The concept of Ishvara, wherever is used authentically, it relates to what you call the divine entity sitting within each one's heart. This is what the Antahkarana. See, there is a term called Antahkarana. When we refer Ishvara, it means we are looking Antahkarana. It means within Antahkarana is a set of 4 fields: Chitta field, Ankar field, Man field, and Buddhi field. So when this divine entity reflects in the Antahkarana, which is situated Hridaya mein sthit hai, then the concept Ishvara comes in, who is the witness within the living entity. Then the concept of Ishvara. When we use the term Atman, within the context of Atman, Paramatma comes in. Okay, when we talked about the Srishti, Isthiti in play, then the concept of Brahma comes in. See, this is the Brahma is all pervading, all inside and outside. Then such an entity is called the Brahman. And I have actually, whenever you refer, this is beside the point, I'm a little bit digress. Whenever people refer to the Brahman, all only reality, they are, I don't know what Brahman you are talking about. This is an incomplete statement and can lead to misleading conclusion and conflicts. I have identified, if you look at the Samagrata, see, I am a sevak and yogic student, yoga tradition. I do contemplation yoga, Samagrata, starting from Rigved. I do not leave out any of the scriptures or any of the basic document, foundational documents from any tradition. So this is the background I come from. I have the Quran here. I refer to Quran. I have in front of me the Quran in my library. That's the Quran. And this Quran is on the right side, you have a Arabic language. On the left side, there's the English translation. And this Quran is the approved Quran by the authority, the highest authority of the Al-Azhar University in Egypt. It was approved by them. So this is what I consider the authentic one, not many other Qurans or interpretation. This is what I use. So I use on this. So the Atman and Brahman. Now what happens? The contradiction comes in. So you have Ishvara and you have Paramatma related to Atman, Ishvara related to Antahakaran, and then you have the Srishti, Sthiti, all pervading concept related to the Brahman. There's another meaning of Brahman, who holds those yogic powers, Yogamaya, who is also called Brahman. But there's another very important term comes out to be Bhagavan. That's why without introducing the Bhagavan, and this is very clearly in 1427 in Bhagavad Gita. सभी ब्रह्म स्वरूपों का वर्णन हुआ, ब्रह्म स्थिति का वर्णन हुआ, ब्रह्मोक्ष ब्रह्म निर्वाण का स्थिति का सबका डिस्कशन होके विचार विमर्श भगवान ने अर्जुन को सब उपदेश दिया, ज्ञान दिया, विज्ञान दिया, और उसके बाद कहा ब्रह्मणो ही प्रतिष्ठाहम् अव्यस्य मृतस्य च। जिस ब्रह्म की अभी तक मैं पूरे बात करता रहा हूं, जिस ब्रह्म की स्थिति, ब्रह्म निर्वाण, ब्रह्म शांति, ब्रह्म स्थिति, वो सब कुछ उस ब्रह्म का भी आधार में हूं। You see, so this is what we call the contextual language, the Sanskrit language, Sanskrit terminology. This is a quantum concept. This is the source of the quantum logic. I'm not going to elaborate on. So this is how, so when we use the term God, I do not really, if you are educated enough in the world tradition, I think you will be lost. I don't know what you're talking about. So this is where the confusion comes in. And this confusion is so prevailing. I had to write soul, for example, soul, Atma. Atma is, there is no equivalent concept in any tradition or equivalent of Atman. Soul is simply breath of life. That's it. And I will next time going to start with also the soul, give you all definitions from all the Abrahamic traditions, all the latest understanding about the concept of soul, how does it relate to Greek, how does it relate to psyche, modern mind-body problem. All this is what we are going to talk about. So this is nutshell. I have elaborated on your question. So I appreciate very, very much. I think there are some other hands are being raised.
Yeah, actually, I cannot see any hands here, but nevertheless, the gentleman.
I think there are three parts.
Satyendraji is there. Satyendraji, please go ahead.
Pranam, sir. First, I will request you that today you have taken a very complex topic, and just like the Jati Dharma Varna Vyavastha topic that you took, it also deserves several sessions.
Yeah.
So that we can have a better understanding. We just ran through 100 slides. I think we need to learn from each of these slides. So please have, if it is possible, please have several sessions on this. That's a request. And taking this opportunity, there are two questions which are often thrown by Christian missionaries at general people. One is that Hindus are idol worshippers, and they attack us for this. And second thing that they say is like we have many gods.
Yeah.
So these two things they present as a big weaknesses of Hinduism.
Yeah.
So for a layman, how these questions can be effectively answered in a succinct, short manner. And what is your response to this? I would like to hear from you, sir.
Well, I think you have it. The first, really, we would like to, if there is an audience available, and even if no audience available, even if one person is available, I'm willing to give extra sessions on each of these, because these are very, very deep and very broad topics related to the foundation of the civilization. Second one is the idol worshippers. In their tradition, first let me see where the idol terms come from. Idol terms come from the Greek Roman world. They have different kind of gods and different kind of statues, and they used to worship those statues, different gods, and they want to demolish that civilization, the Christian tradition. So they had to say they are the false gods. My God is better than their gods. So we will not make images of the gods because they have not seen the God. Their tradition, there's no visibility of God. So you can speculate, you can do whatever you want to do, you can have your mental power. And their other traditions do not have a concept called dhi. We will talk later on sometime. Satyam param dhimai, dhimas dhimai dhiyo yo na prachodayat. Even this particular term, I have given a full hour seminar on this. Gayatri mantra. There's very superficial understanding for the last 300 years of this mantra. We do not understand theory of knowledge. We have not developed any courses based on theory of knowledge, our own indigenous. We are so much in darkness, I'm telling you. It's all superficial. We can, keep on doing whatever we're doing, which is good, but it is really superficial when you look at deeply enough. So the idol worship is the false god worship. One thing, and their God does not exist in the world, any objects in the world. So world is for exploitation, world is for subjugation, natural world, human world. So if you are not the follower of the Christianity or the Islamic tradition, then you are a subhuman being. As a subhuman being, intelligent, you are not intelligent, you are stupid, you are idiot. And that's why you are worshipping the false god. That's why they are against the Murti Puja. Plain and simple. Because that's the iconic description or identification of the Hindu wisdom tradition, Murti Puja. And we believe, and our understanding is that Ekoham Rama, the one became many, including the nature. Natural world is part and parcel of Godhead. Prakriti, Purush, and Purushottam. So it means it is all pervading, all existing, Brahm in each and every material, non-material entity. What happens when Murti Puja you do yogic exercise. You do not do Murti Puja thinking that, this Murti suddenly will defend itself. If you, that's what they were doing, destroying the Murti. Well, God does not appear. Yeah, God will not appear. Brahm will not appear. Brahm will not appear under certain circumstances. What happens? You do Murti Puja, then really what you are doing, you are really going through Murti Puja as a means, you are going interiorly through just rediscovering your own true identity, that Atman, Paramatman, and Prakriti are within me. So this is what you are doing really, that you must do really. Under three conditions, there are historical incidents, even today happens. I will tell you even the most recent one, I have all those personal acquaintances and I have my own personal experience. Under three conditions, out of Murti, the Murti became the living divine, under three conditions. Either your austerity, your tapasya, or kripa, bhagavato bhagavati kripa, or combination of those. under those conditions, the murti will become the divine and the material aspect become abhyakt. That's the one thing. So they have their fundamental basis because God does not exist in this universe. Plain and simple. They are God. Next thing is many gods we have. They do not recognize other entities, divine entities at all. Why they do not recognize? Because they had to destroy and counteract the Greco-Roman world, where you have different polytheistic tradition, many gods and goddesses. So they have to use their term. No, we do not believe anything. There is a God which is not visible. I cannot directly see him. So no images can be formed, because image, if I form, now at the same time there is a contradiction. If you go to the Kaaba, there to the Hajj, there is a stone, black stone. Why did you worship that black stone? There were 3,600 murtiyas around that area. All were destroyed by Muhammad himself. Why did he worship? Why the Muslims worship the Kaaba, go there in stone? Because this is their true God is there in the stone. Our gods are false and they cannot be in our murti. So counteract them. Why do you worship Kaaba? If you look at the images in the Christian tradition, they all worship images. Image of Jesus. And next time I'm going to talk about even the what Jesus said, how Jesus, what the situation Jesus, or the latest findings about the Jesus, historicity of Jesus. What Jesus really said, nobody tells you about it. What he went through, the brutal murder and torture on the cross, which was very common under Roman law, that these have to be punished like that. And so what to do now? He was punished. He was supposed to be the Messiah of Jews. He's supposed to bring out the heaven on earth. It did not happen in his lifetime. It did not happen even after 2,000 years. So what happened? What happened? Jews said, no, he's not Messiah. He's not divine. So that's the separation took place between Jewish tradition and the Christian tradition. You see, so this is what, so they had to create an artificial paradigm, a narrative that he rose from the dead after 3 days and he's going to save the rest of the world. Saved from what? So we are not saved. Rest of the humanity has been not saved for last 2,000 years. He did not come back in 2,000 years, could save anybody. What does saving mean? I don't want to be saved. I am within me, Atma and Paramatma. I am part and parcel of Paramatma. Mamai Vanso Jeev Shakti Jeev Bhuta Sanatana. This is what I am. What you are saving from me? Yeah, I am saving myself from my ignorance, ajnana chetram, that I consider to be this body as the eternal. That's what they consider the body as the eternal. That's why they save the body in the graves. And if you open the grave, what will be remain? The bones, probably. Okay. And they are going to wrap up, the bones. God will come and wrap up the bones with these. Right? This is So from their point of view, you really think about it. That's what the God is going to do. What powerful God is. My God is so powerful. मेरा परमात्मा तो इतना है, वो कहता है नहीं, हम तो आप आत्मा परमात्मा आपके अंदर बैठा हुआ हूँ, पहचान लो मुझको, और पहचान लो तो जो है कि तुम भी ब्रह्म हो गए, अहम ब्रह्मास्मि. हम तो ये कह रहे हैं, तुम कह रहे हैं हमारा गॉड आएगा, हमें खो देगा, पहचानेगा, फिर उसमें जो है वो लपेटेगा. अरे भाई, अपने को नहीं बचा सका, जो जीसस अपने को नहीं बचा सका, किसी का कुछ कर नहीं सका, कोई चेंज नहीं आए क्या क्रिश्चियन वर्ल्ड में? लुक एट द काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स दैट हैव going on for last 2000 years. Look at the history. Could he save you? That's how you should respond.
Next question we have from Gayatri ji. Gayatri ji, please ask the question.
Namaskar. It was a great presentation, really very illuminating. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rajiv ji, for bringing Chaturvedi ji for this presentation series. My question is slightly different.
Yeah.
Not related to Christianity or Islam. It is more related to knowing our own philosophy. For example, we say that Atma is never born nor destroyed. So I have had this question in my mind for a very long time.
Yeah.
How do we explain this theory of the population growth in terms of human beings and animals and all those kitanus, I mean, be it corona. So that, even that is supposed to have an Atma. Each one of the living creatures is supposed to have Atma. So how does it multiply? Because it's supposed to be constant, right?
Yeah.
Then how does it multiply? That is one part. The other question I have is slightly different. For example, I do bad karma this janma, because my next janma is supposed to be dependent on my prarabdha karma, prarabdha phala karma. Like, I do bad karma. Is it possible that I be born next janma as a Muslim or a Christian? Possible. And what about the Atmas who are born as Muslims and Christians? How do they, how does it liberate, or what happens to them?
My gratitude for your kind comments, and these are the great questions. One on the Karma Yoga, one on the Atma. The subject matter is quite deep and quite broad. So actually, when I am introducing the concept of Atman and the soul and psyche in next lesson, then I will elaborate further on it. But let me give you briefly. Whenever you bring the concept of rebirth or the cyclic process of the universe, this all contents, well, living entity, non-living entity, then you have to consider first very important two events, birth and death. And the concept of death is very much elaborated within the Hindu wisdom tradition, in yoga tradition. If you consider this is the only human being, his only material body, biochemical body is going to die. You see that comes in. It's gone. So the philosophers many times say this is absurd. Life is absurd. It has no meaning. Do whatever you want to do. Gautam people, जो वो कह रहे थे कहना चाहिए आपके हमारे वो घी पियो मौज करो, लाइफ का कोई मीनिंग नहीं है, वेदा सब जो है बेकार हैं, सब कुछ वो कह रहे थे जो हमारे पुराने जो दार्शनिक. So this is the one concept, the body has died. Then why do we have to have any meaning of living? That's another question that we can talk about later on. So if you're talking about the rebirth phenomena, just like, if you go to the Buddhist tradition, it's a rebirth phenomena, in few traditions only, which are inspired by the Vedic traditions, have the rebirth phenomena. And rebirth phenomena has been observed and also documented. Previous life's memory have been observed and documented by various scientists. I have a long list from even contemporary situations by scientists, they have been recorded. So then something must remain living after the body has died. And that's something, what that is. What the Buddhist will tell you, the mind is eternal. Hindus say, no, mind is not eternal. Mind stays with Atman entity, wrapped around the Atman entity, and that mind has what you call the, there is another body, what you call the causal body or Linga Sarir, which is not visible, which cannot be approached by any instrument. By wrapping it up, this contains the traces of all the karmas. And with it, Atma goes on the revolutionary cycle of birth and death and worth, up and down in different planes. There are 7 planes: Rishi plane, Pitralok, Rishi Lok, Brahma Lok, different lokas, or it can go into the Narak lokas. So when you bring in the concept of rebirth and the memory of the past lives, then you have to bring in the concept of some eternal entity which does not get mutated and does not change, does not dissolve. It is eternal. They have to be bring in, otherwise you cannot explain the rebirth phenomena and the past memories. That's the answer to your question. So the karma yoga, now the karma kshetra, this is also misunderstood very much. We have what we call the past karmas. And if you want to really read one book, if you give me your, email address or phone number to our Ravindra Kaulji, I can send you the first major popular book published by a very renowned psychiatrist who is still living, Brian Weiss. Past masters, past lives. Something like many masters, many lives.
Many lives, many masters.
Many lives, many masters. It is authentically driven and noted and documented history of a person who had lived past 83 lives. Can you believe that? All the way to, I think, 1500 BC. And there are a lot of research, near-death experience has come up with this concept. So when you bring this concept in, then you know that it is going to, you have to bring in the concept of Atman and Paramatman. That briefly I'm giving you that answer.
Okay.
And similarly, karma kshetra, the past karmas you carry with you, accordingly you will take birth in particular family or particular tradition. So if I am born next time in Muslim tradition, in a family where they follow Muslim tradition is the minuscule. See, when I'm talking about human nature, human personality, Hindu wisdom tradition have created at least 15 to 20 categories. I have created even more. I can talk about, give 2 hours lecture on that. And if you look at those categories, then you know really, if I'm born as a Muslim or any other tradition or tribal tradition, where the nature is a God, it does not matter. I have within, it is hidden within me. It manifests. It comes to my awareness based on the tradition of parents that I'm born with. So jnana, ajnana, all together. Dharma, adharma, all together in this body. Birth and death of this body are born together. Sahyonija.
Thank you very much.
These are the sciences of Vedic rishis.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Next question is from Dr. Chand Bharadwaj. Please go ahead. You have to unmute.
It is a bit of a clarification which Gayatri ji asked. That's a small little part which I would like to say from my limited knowledge, that the first shloka, like Ekaham Bahushyam, this is how the souls are having that divine attribute to become from one to many again. And then this is how all the souls in your body, even in the mother's womb, there is one single cell known as zygote.
Yeah.
With the egg of the mother and sperm of the father, the first single cell.
Yeah.
Now this cell has got the ability to become from one to many.
Yeah.
And in the womb of the mother, the God is operating there as Ekam Bahusham.
Yeah.
Because he is there, and all these zygote cells which are becoming from one to many,
yeah,
and they are having all that RNA, DNA information within them.
Yeah.
And it has got all the information of the color of the eye, features of the parents, is all there.
Yeah.
And this cell travels down to the location of the heart, and then it transforms itself into a cell of a heart. It completely gets transformed.
Yeah.
And then it becomes again from one to many there,
Yeah.
and makes the whole heart, which is working as a pump. The similar cell goes to the kidney, and becomes from one to many there as a kidney cell.
Yeah.
And then the same cell goes to the eye, which is more complex than your brain, is developing all that. So let me say that there are approximately more than 100 trillion, approximately 100 trillion cells in a healthy body. So each body has got 100 trillion cells, let me say that way. And each one is a living entity. It's a living body. And once you donate your kidney, it works in the other body. And understanding God in that perspective, that God is really doing all this. Now, what I say, in a nutshell, I would like to say, and we can talk later on once Professor Chaturvedi works on it, and we may have another kind of thing, I would like to say the whole cosmos is one living entity, and it has got those three basics: floating material bodies, the universal mind embedded with information system and laws of nature, and the absolute intelligence capable force which is energizing both of them, including each atom. And you are part of that. As my finger is part of my body, I am part of the whole. So here also my body is made out of that 100 and odd elements, and my mind, my soul has acquired the mind and created the body. And that's how I am here to experience this time-bound material creation, to have all the kinds of experiences. And of course, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satya. So now how this is all illusionary life which we are living here, and the gist of Vedas have been understood by some of the very prominent saints in the country. So maybe next time we can have a talk on science, scriptures, spirituality, and saints. That will be wonderful. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. I will request honestly to give you my viewpoints. Just first of all, I will not use the word God. I will not use the word soul, because they have different meaning altogether. I will use just like universal mind. The Aurobindo used the universal mind. Okay, because we have a metaphysics based on the Sankhya Yoga Darshan. And Sankhya Yoga Darshan people are really, what you call trapped in the Ishvara Krishna Sankhya Yoga, that textbook. Okay, they have not looked at the Sankhya Yoga Darshan by Kapil Bhagwan in the Bhagavatam, which is more reasonable, more authentic, more wonderful. और आपने जो कहा बहुत अद्भुत कहा कि यही तो पुरुष प्रकृति पुरुषोत्तम, ये इक्वेशन जो मैंने लिखी, these three equation, this is what it means एकोहम बहुश्यामा. और भगवान ने जो वो मैंने भागवत से जो है वो जो श्लोक जो है रिसाइट किया था, that's the ultimate knowledge, ultimate understanding of the existence. That what did it mean by Ekoham Bahusyama? I created myself within myself for myself within my Yoga Maya. I sustain myself for myself within myself through Yoga Maya. I dissolve myself within myself for myself from within Yoga Maya. And I remain what I was, Achyuta. So this is how the equation turns out. So we will continue, on these topics, as we come along. Thank you very much for your suggestions and guidance. I appreciate very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We have.
Can I repeat the second question about the Varna, Jati, and all that on which we have kept this conference? And I have sent certain things on Manu Sambriti and some of the findings of the professor.
I'm going to look at the Manu Sambriti that you have sent, and then we will talk about it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, next question from Dr. Vipin Chaturvedi ji. Vipin ji, please.
Bhaiya, Chanas first, Radhe Radhe.
Mangalam Mastu, beta.
This was a beautiful and wonderful talk, and I really take home lessons. And I think we need to really also, I think, as you correctly pointed out, from our own traditions as well, that we need to really, I guess, debate and correct and also learn, is that I think we have the concept of Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwan iti Shabdate.
Yeah.
These three concepts, to the fact that just now other professor really commented on Jagan Mithya.
Yes.
It is, I think, Mithya word, it was spoken in a different context. It should be really removed. We shouldn't be completely misunderstood. This Jagat is temporary, it's anityam. It is not Mithya. So again, this whole concept actually from Vedantic concept, I think we really went beyond. I mean, after Shankaracharya, obviously, other followers of his have really also created some problems for us as a tradition, as a heritage, really, So I think this really clarification that again we have to really combine in a samasti form, in a breath form, all these different concepts, from temple worship to the deity worship to impersonal God to the personal Paramatman. I think this confusion also, and then really trying to really satisfy the Western traditions to by even the so-called so many our gurus recently, I think is a really fundamental thing that I think somebody like you or somebody else really should take upon and elaborate on my suggestion, humble suggestion. But it was a brilliant seminar. Thank you, Bhaiya.
Vipin, very well said. I fully agree with you. The word mithya is misplaced. The word mithya is misplaced. It should not have been used in general sense. It should not have been used in general sense. And I have this qualm with the many Vedantis, and they avoid discussing about it. There was a particular time and context. Otherwise the word mithya should be avoided. And the heritage became to such an extent powerful, be ridiculed and ignored the whole the sciences. The whole yoga tradition was ignored and ridiculed. Whole sciences, field of sciences, material sciences, the cosmological phenomena, all this was so much enriched, so much there. Basic darshan was, Padarth darshan, basic darshan, they were ignored and ridiculed as a result of this heritage, which was imposed on by this word mithya.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but we had to do a renaissance. I fully agree with you. And we all here, audience, together, we can bring that renaissance. It's not a single individual. It is the collective efforts, karma yoga, collective karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga together. Thank you so much, Vipin.
Thank you. Mr. Vivek Gargji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Namaste Chaturvedi ji, I am calling from Ujjain city of India.
Thank you so much, sir.
And a few days before, Nichalan Saraswati Shankaracharya came on the Gita Jayanti to Ujjain, and there I somewhere seen that only the Brahmins used to receive him, and he used to talk about the Jan-oriented caste system, and he and his philosophers, he and his followers have no great feeling for the other caste. Even for the Shudras, they have very reluctant to give any kind of diksha, and even they say that Shudras are not allowed to do the yajna. So if this kind of the philosophy will prevail on, then how the Hindu unity will be formed? Only Shankaracharya thought. Because we know that the Adi Shankaracharya has faced Lord Vishwanath in the form of the Chandal, and the Lord Shiva asked him, if because you are the believer in the Advaita, then in Vedanta, then how you can discriminate between the Shudra and the Brahmin? So why the such tradition of the Dvait philosophy has been continued with the other Shankaracharya? I think so they are not working on the ideology of the Adi Shankaracharya. So more people like from the Western world are moving to the ISKCON and to the other Bhakti Sampradayas like Gaudiya, Limbic.
Yeah, you are on mute, Vivekji. We can't hear you.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Chaturvedi. So
Yeah.
can you answer me?
Yeah, briefly, I answer you with due respect to all acharyas. I'm talking about the ideas. Actually, look at the Bhagavad Gita and the mission of the, Prabhupada. Okay. Look at the Varna system described and discussed in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. What has happened that I have talked a lot about these Janma versus Karma versus Janma or Karma or Guna. I have discussed a lot, and you can really talk to Dr. Kaulji or Rajiv ji on this platform. We have a lot of videos that I've talked about, and you will be able to find the answer to my question. In general, actually, those statements by anybody, including Shankaracharya ji, okay, there's a statement under modern contemporary times of Kali Yuga do not hold good in general. Okay, because our occupation, because those are internal matters of the guna, and how the guna manifest through visible field of karma. Okay, even Mahabharata times it has been said, a person born in Brahman family, if does not follow the Brahman karma and follow the karma which are really very adharmic, he's worse than Sudras. If Sudra person born in Sudra family follows the karma of the Kshatriya, Brahmana or Vaishya, that person should be considered accordingly. Now, in general, what happens? So these are the special cases, and based on the inner qualities and corresponding correlation with the external karma. How do I know what you are? How can I identify you? I cannot identify you unless I identify you with your background, or I identify with your karma. How can I? So in this context, actually, the Varna Vyavastha have become mixed Varna Vyavastha. So I have, for example, I encounter you, and this Varna system is not a caste system. It was rigidly encased in a caste system during for last 300 years. If you look at before 300 years, even during Islamic era, this rigidity was not there. In fact, you will find out many of the people from all Varnas, they did Kshatriya Varna. They adopted Kshatriya Varna to fight against the aggressors. All Sudra, West, all were fighting. You look at the Sikh tradition. All Varnas were part of the Sikh tradition, fighting to protect the Hindu Dharma. You see what? If you look at the Bhakti tradition, Varna tradition collapses. traditional Varna tradition collapses. Look at the Bhakti tradition. It started in the 8th century. The Bhakti tradition started from the Rig Veda. Or there are many, I have identified more than 15 identification from within the human personality. They do not depend on the Varna, traditional Varna, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And once you get the ashram vyavastha, you become the sannyasi, Varna system collapses. Traditional. So these are making general statement for every situation is fundamentally incorrect under contemporary situation. Traditionally, it happens. Let me elaborate further for a few couple of minutes. Look at the real life situation. Real life situation like this, biologically. How many biological entities I carry with me? 50% from my mother, 20% from my father, 25% from my grandparent, 25% from my grandparents. Do you see? So now the father and grandfather lived in different era, different concept, different ideas, but I carry some of those traditions within me, knowingly or unknowingly. That's how the birth phenomena, birth identification by birth became a visual satisfying criteria. Do you see what I'm talking about? Look at the musical world. Look at the musical world from all around the world. Okay. Many musical talents were born in the families where you have musical parents and grandparents, musical tradition going on. And they have innate attributes of being musically talented. Sports or any era, mathematics, physics, you find out a lot of these, and there are exceptions. Many wonderful classical musicians in India, you'll find their parents or grandparents, they were not at all interested in, there was no musical tradition in their families. Still, they have musical talent. So these are the probabilistic concept happens. So the particular situation cannot be generalized, and many times general solution cannot be particularized. So in Rig Veda, you go all the way to Rig Veda to Bhagavatam, you will find out all such examples where you will find out the exceptions. So whosoever making general statement without context, without this call, without parasiti, without understanding the structure behind it, is fundamentally incorrect and unfortunate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chaturvedi ji. I would like to just add one comment regarding the zygote example which was given earlier. The Eko Ham Bahut Shyam Hai, that statement is in the context that nothing from outside is obtained to become many, and what is becoming many is a broader issue. Whereas in the case of the zygotes and the egg dividing, etc., it is getting the material from the surroundings. It is not becoming many in that sense. So it replicates, but gets the material, etc., from outside. So one should be very careful in extending these analogies willy-nilly, because it will come across as a voodoo science. So I would just caution about people that when you make such analogies, such examples, very careful about what the meaning is, what implications are, etc., are there. So with that, and there is no other question, so I would thank you, Dr. Shiv Chaudhary ji, and all the audience who has been very patient. The session has lasted about more than 1.5 hours. And
it's 2 hours now, 2 hours, 8 minutes.
Yes, 2 hours.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. This is a blessing. I tell you, such a distinguished audience. This is such an enlightened and distinguished audience. This is a wonderful. I want to simply say to the audience that if you want to have a further discussion on individual basis, you can write down my phone number. One, he can give you the phone number, Dr. Call. My 1614-284-1174. 1614-284-1174, and I live in Los Angeles, California. So with this, I bow down to all of you, and it's so wonderful. And we will continue, based on your suggestion, continue these kind of sessions in more detail on each topic. Next time, actually, I'm going to explore further the Abrahamic tradition, comparing, contrasting with our tradition in the idea of the Prakriti, idea of the natural world, idea of the Atman versus soul. All those we'll be talking about, and also jihad in various forms. What are the foundation behind the concept of jihad found within the Islamic tradition, or the similar fighting straight to convert within the Christian tradition. We will work on it in the next session, and I think probably in a couple of weeks, actually 2 weeks or so, I would like to schedule ASAP, so that at least you have some memories. And these, I think, these all the tapes and recording will be available. I think Dr. Cole can give you that information more. How this be available? It be available, I think, on my website also, and in other places. So the Khalji, can you pass on that information to all the listeners?
Yeah, I will post my number here. People who are interested in, they can either message me or call me.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
Can I have Professor Chaturvedi repeat his number one more time, please?
614-284-1174.
Thank you, sir. मेरा नाम विजेंद्र अग्रवाल है. Thank you.
विजेंद्र अग्रवाल, बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत प्रणाम.
I have left my phone number on the chat. So
630.
They want to contact me.
630.
687-0887.
687-0887.
Yes.
There is another number somewhere. Okay, good. This is number. Yes, I will certainly contact you, and you'll work on you. I have. I will send the other information also. I have coming up tomorrow morning another seminar coming up on the artificial intelligence from Vedic perspectives, which is coming up in Indian time also. So I will send you that information too. And the Tuesday morning, another information coming up from Sanskrit College, another talk coming up on the वेद समस्त शास्त्रों का आधार. इसके ऊपर मैं एक टॉक दे रहा हूं कि वेदों का स्वरूप, ये कैसे इस स्टेटमेंट को हम देख सकते हैं, समझ सकते हैं, और उस पर विचार कर सकते हैं.
Thank you, ji. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, and Abhar Chaturvedi ji and
you, sir, Ravindra Kaul ji.
हाँ जी.
सर, मैं एक इंडियन हिस्ट्री एंड अवेयरनेस ग्रुप में हूँ. उसमें आप भी हो क्या? Because there is a one
chairman.
Yes, sir. So I'm Vivekananda from there.
Yeah, I recognized you, Vivek ji.
And sir, and one question to the Rajiv Verma ji, that I'm his group. I was in his group, the Global Sangoshthi, and I left by chance, by mistake. He can add me again if I send the request. To the Rajiv Verma.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. So I think we should call it a day, and then move and wait for the next lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, भैया जी. नमस्कार सभी को. नमस्कार.